See if this helps. It works out any better. Okay. We just finished reading chapter 5 of Brian's Winter, in how he made some arrowheads from flint. Now, what I have here is, when I was down in Texas, I picked up this rock, and this is basically flint, right? And you can see where I chipped some pieces off. And, you know, it sounded so easy in the book, but in reality, it's a little bit more involved. Okay, now I'm not going to use my hatchet because it's an expensive hatchet, but I will use a hammer. And I'm going to see if we can, let's see if we can make some kind of usable head. Okay. Wow, look at that. Chipped a nice chunk right off. Okay, nice piece. Kind of triangular, but it's a little too big. We need to get something smaller. Okay. So now I don't know if you can see this, but I got a piece of leather here. I put on my knee. I'm going to kind of have to use my knee as something to work with. Okay. Now we're starting to get there. We're starting to make some chips here. Now, not too sharp of an edge, but some of it I can feel. All right. It's almost glass-like. It's almost like broken glass. If you've ever been cut broken glass, then you know what it's like. All right. See if we can get another usable piece here. That was pretty tough. I'm going to put a piece of leather there. I don't want to cut my hand. Like I said, it's sharp as broken glass. Okay. As you can see, it breaks off in a cone. Okay, it's called a Hertzian cone. The cone is about 135 degrees. So if I make a direct sharp hit, that's how it's gonna shatter. Now, let's see if I can, I might do it right on this. There. I want to get some like usable chunks. I do have some pieces here and there. Okay. Well, I got this piece here. Now, what can we do with this? Because it'd be nice to be able to shape this into something similar to an arrowhead. Now, gotta keep in mind that, I'm not an expert. Nor do I claim to be one. I'm gonna use this smaller hammer. I'm gonna try and break some chunks off. And I ended up breaking it in half, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Okay. Still in the learning process here. I'm going to do that on this. fact, I might even use this. It's still a learning process. All these little chips of stone are actually quite sharp, believe it or not. Probably saying, what do you mean by that? Okay, let's just demonstrate. Okay, sharp as glass. So, you do have to be somewhat careful when you're working with this. Now, I do have kind of a primitive edge here, and again, this is kind of like my first time doing this, so I'm going to try and form this into a primitive head, and I'm going to cover the edge with my leather piece of leather. So I don't end up hurting myself. Ah, got a nice ridge here. I'm going to have to chip at this carefully. Ooh. Ouch. Yeah, it is like glass. Okay. Now I got a rough arrowhead shape here, but it's still a little too thick. I want to try and trim that down. And what I'm doing here, I got this is actually a core sample from a gold mine in South Dakota, and it makes a handy abrading stick. In other words, I can take this and I can like rub the edge with this, and the reason I'm doing that is because I found out that when you strike the edge won't flake off. You don't have to rub it too much, but the flakes will be a lot longer. I'm trying to shape this piece, but again, this is kind of like it's going to be a learning process. I don't need to use that just yet. actually cutting into the leather. I'll put this on the ground. I don't know how long I can do this. Ooh. I wonder if I have to start on a new one. I don't know, I hate jumping around like that, but sometimes you have to do that. Oh, there's a nice flake. Nice little thin, sharp flake. Like I said. They're razor sharp. Okay, now. I got a piece of antler here I cut off. Found from a shed. Well, shed, in other words, deer, they lose the antlers every winter. They drop them. So I found one and I cut the end off. So I got a tine. I'm going to use it as kind of like a flaking tool. I'm going to see if I could kind of get this edge. Would it work? Yeah, probably not. I'm not happy with it. See if we can come up with something better. Definitely leaving marks on the stone. But you know, I was wondering what was poking me. Some of these chips are quite sharp. put this off to the side. That I'm not too happy about. I'm kind of looking through and seeing what I could do. Again, these chips are very sharp. So I'm picking them up. It's like picking up broken glass, believe it or not. I'll have to sweep that up into the yard later. See how it has that ring to it? You know that's flint.